A big warm welcome to all of our viewers today. In today's episode of Invest Karo, Tarrakki Karo Financial Literacy Series, we will be discussing multi-cap funds. My name is Soumya Shah and I'm the founder of the Tarrakki app. In today's episode, I have Mr. Neil Parikh, CEO of Parag Mutual Fund with me today. A big thank you to you, Neil, today for joining us today and being a part of the Invest Karo, Tarrakki Karo Financial Literacy Series.
Thank you, Soumya. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Thank you so much.
So Neil, when I talk to a lot of investors, potential investors, and when I'm talking about Parag Mutual Fund, a lot of people, the first thing they come up with is this that fund which invests in international stocks? Is this the fund which has an investment in Google and Facebook and Amazon? So Neil, what is the thought process? What is the rationale? Why would you invest in an international company and go across the border while there are so many companies in India as well you can invest?
Thank you for that question, Soumya. So one thing we need to keep in mind that India is only about 3 or 4% of the market capitalization of the world. In essence, what that means is that more than 90% of the opportunities lie outside our borders. So why do we restrict ourselves to only looking at 4% of the companies when there's a bunch of companies out there doing great stuff, So the first thing is that there are a lot of your opportunity set increases while looking outside the country. Secondly, is a familiarity with some of these brands. Now today, if you take out if anyone takes out their smartphone or their cell phone, it will probably be an Apple, Samsung, or one of these Chinese companies. And I'm pretty sure no one's using an Indian smartphone as right now. So our familiarity with these companies is quite high. We're using their products. We're familiar with them. Look at social media. Where do you go on social media? Facebook or a Google or what are you watching on TV? Netflix and Amazon. What are you consuming in beverages? A Starbucks or a Coca-Cola. So we are anyway we're consuming these brands. So if they're so good that we're consuming them, why not to invest in them also? So I think that you're familiar with them and they're global brands. So that's why we like them. Thirdly, listen, if you have to look for really innovative companies, the companies of tomorrow, I think a lot of these companies are beyond our border. There are companies like Google, Amazon, Tesla, Genentech. These companies are no equivalent of these companies these companies in India. So it makes sense to partner with companies which that 10, 15 years from now will also be doing good. And this lockdown has taught us that digital is kind of the way to go, and work from home has taught us how, say, a Zoom or something is so important to our lives right now, and all of these are foreign companies. So better to participate in them with them. Next is markets do not go in tandem, So if you look at 2000 to 2010, Indian markets did much better than, say, American markets or other markets. 2010 to 2020, as you know, that US market has far outperformed Indian market. So we don't know which market is going to perform at what moment. So having a diversification strategy can actually help in actually protecting the downside and giving a good upside also. And the diversification helps in that way. And lastly is the currency depreciation. So the Indian rupee on average has depreciated about 4% to the American dollar on a yearly basis. So when we go and invest abroad, we get an extra 4% for the currency, and that helps, that sets up a good cushion for the fund. So you're getting kind of a 4-5% return, which is a fixed income kind of return already inbuilt in this international portfolio. Any appreciation in stock price or dividends is over and above that. So I think these reasons make it pretty compelling to look beyond our borders.
Sure, absolutely. That's very nice to hear that there is a company, there's a mutual fund in India which is not only India centric, but looks at companies globally. So my second question to you is, you operate as a multi-cap fund. So could you explain to our viewers what is a multi-cap fund and why did you opt for this specific structure of a multi-cap fund investing in international securities, and what role can this play in achieving long-term goals of our users, financial goals of our users?
Thanks, Soumya. So one thing is, when I think of a multi-cap fund, what I think about is like a Swiss Army knife. A Swiss Army knife is one device but multi-functionality. Similarly, a multi-cap fund has the ability to invest across sectors, across market caps, and across geographies. So what you're doing is you're giving your fund manager enough flexibility to invest wherever he feels there's value. So I think a multi-cap strategy is a great strategy because you can balance the portfolio out by investing wherever there's value. If mid-cap and small caps are very expensive, you can go into large cap, or the other way around. You can keep rotating it depending on where the value is. It also provides, like I said, the flexibility of going into different geographies or going to different market caps, and you're not the fund manager's hands are not held uh, by investing only in a particular strategy. So it's a very widespread. It's a very wide strategy that the fund manager can use, which can actually help in increasing return as well as downside risk. Why is it helpful to people? I think it provides convenience and suitability. I think uh, first-time investors who have low risk, or even seasoned investors, should be investing in a multi-cap strategy, because it again you don't really need to choose too much. You don't need to choose, oh, should I be in large cap or mid cap or small cap or international or any of those things. A multi-cap, you give the mandate to the fund manager to go wherever there's value. So I think the ease of choosing becomes much easier. And lastly, it's a kind of a low correlation product, in the sense that when you add this international component to the multi-cap, it actually lowers the correlation to your other funds. So if you're invested in all other Indian mutual funds, they all will go up and down together. But having a 30 or 35% allocation to the foreign stocks in your multi-cap will make the fund go opposite of what all the other mutual funds are doing. And the basic rule or advantage of diversification is that low correlation products, and that's why having this kind of a product as your core portfolio helps. And sorry, lastly, I think I missed one point out, is the taxation part. So when you're looking at global investments, if you do it by yourself, or if you do it, if you do it in this in a multi-cap fund, but tax like an Indian mutual fund only. So the taxation is very simple. It's 10% long-term and 15% short-term capital gains tax, and that's exactly what you do. So you don't have to worry too much about taxation. So it's a local fund with global flavor, or a very favorable tax structure.
So Neil, as you just said that your fund invests in international stocks, it invests in large cap stocks, mid cap or small caps. It's a multi-cap fund. So what would be the risk associated with investing in a multi-cap fund?
So, Soumya, I think that the multi-cap strategy has probably the lower risk compared to other funds, like a small cap, mid cap, or a strategy is only doing one thing. That's because the multi-cap can invest across sectors, across geography, across market cap. Wherever there's value, you can invest in those sectors or those market caps. So you're not forced, the fund manager is not forced to only follow one strategy. He can go wherever there's value. So the risk-adjusted return is amazing in a multi-cap fund, and also it protects the downside much better than other funds. And it's like I mentioned, it's a low correlation product, which means that if you have this international component in your multi-cap, it actually moves a little against than what your other funds or Indian funds would react with the markets.
Sure. That was very insightful, Neil, highlighting right from the beginning why look across the border, why look at global companies, setting up a fund which allows investors to invest all over the globe, talking about what are the risks of the multi-cap fund and how one should approach a multi-cap fund. So I think this video with you will be very helpful to all of our investors, viewers, in understanding on how they should be diversifying their portfolios and how they should be allocating money. So a big thank you to Neil for coming over here, presenting your thoughts on the multi-cap strategy along with international investing.
Thank you, Soumya. Thank you so much, and thank you for making me part of your platform. I really appreciate it, and I hope I've added some value to your clients. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much, Neil.